Hello, good evening. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments while I'm here. I'm both on YouTube and I'm on TikTok. So you can go ahead and put your questions in the comments. I have a great topic for you today, and it's getting relief as the victim of a crime. Hi there, Jamaica Devon. So nice to see you. Thanks for joining me today. Now, it's getting relief as the victim of a crime. This is a type of relief where if you can show that you have been the victim of a certain qualifying crime. Not every single crime qualifies, but if you can show that you're the victim of a certain qualifying crime, then you would be able to get immigration relief. And this immigration relief includes the ability to work here and then eventually to gain permanent residence. Thanks for the love. I appreciate it. Now, this is through the U status or the U visa. And the qualifying crimes, it's going to depend on what circumstances you faced, what facts were involved. But qualifying crimes means that you were the victim of a crime that resulted in your physical or mental abuse. And yes, that does include domestic violence. It does include stalking. So for example, if you were in a relationship with someone or someone targeted you, a family member, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife, then you would be able to gain this U status as the victim of those types of crimes. So assault, domestic violence, stalking, and other types of crimes. Sexual assault could count here as well. And then other types of crimes as well, but I would have to understand what were the facts in your case to determine whether you would qualify. Now, that is why I say the rule of thumb here is that you should schedule a consultation the minute you know that you have been the victim of a crime. I see a question here, and it's Mayton. So, hi, lawyer, how many times can I use my combo card? Also, can I travel? So, you're to a different country besides Mexico. So, that's a great question. Now, you can use it depends on what the conditions are on your card. If you have restrictions, so I know certain, for example, DACA recipients, they cannot just travel multiple times. They have to apply for each time that they are going to travel, and they usually have to have a good reason. Now, in this case where you're maybe going through adjustment of status and you've received your combo card, that means you've received your work permit, and on the same card is your travel document. If you've received that, then it may be multiple entry, but I don't know because I'm not your attorney and I didn't file your papers and I haven't reviewed them. But in the case that you do have permission, you have a travel document that allows you to travel without limits on, allows you multiple entries. Then in that case, there's not necessarily a number. Whether it's advisable for you to travel is another thing. That's where it's important for you to consult your attorney if you have one, and also to consult with an U.S. immigration attorney if you don't have one, to make sure that it is advisable for you to travel. Now, can you travel to other countries besides Mexico? You must have the right travel documents to enter other countries. So for example, say you wanted to go to Canada. In the case you wanted to go to Canada, that travel document allows you to re-enter the US, but it doesn't necessarily give you the right to enter any other country. You have to check with other countries to see if you are required to have a visa. So for example, if you are from Mexico, going back home, you don't need a visa because that's maybe the country you're from. But however, if you want to go to as I said, England, for example, you're going to have to check with England to see what are the travel documents required for someone who is from Mexico to enter England. So the travel document doesn't give you rights to just travel to other countries, but does give you the right, not right, but it allows you to re-enter the United States. And of course, that's always discretionary, just depending on what your situation is. Great questions. So keep those questions coming. I've been talking about the U visa, but I'm seeing so many questions coming in that I think I'm going to take pause to answer some of those questions. Carrie-Ann Beckford, is it still advisable? Is it still $150 for the consultation fee? Yes, absolutely, still is. Good afternoon. Do you help with I-130 forms? Yes, I represent clients through the I-130 petition. Now, what I don't do is I don't review forms in consultations. My job isn't to just complete forms. I represent clients through their process. So my representation is very holistic. It's not I don't leave my clients hanging by making them fill out their paperwork and then send them on their jolly way just because that can be a dangerous situation. What is the difference between a visa refusal and a visa denial? So the visa, there's not necessarily a difference. The visa, they're refusing to give you a visa in both situations. There's no difference. There is a difference between revoking your visa versus not renewing your visa. So if they revoke your visa versus they just choose not to renew it, those would be two different things. What documents will I be available to get if married a green card holder and I overstayed in the U.S.? So it's going to depend on your circumstances. That's where it's important to get a consultation because you are definitely going into more complex territory. There may be options here. What is the state of your marriage? Do you qualify for exceptions like VAWA if your green card holder spouse is mistreating you? If your green card holder spouse is the one that will be filing the petition for you, then how long will it be until your green card holder spouse can apply for their citizenship? If it's right around the corner, it may be worth it to wait, and then when they become a citizen, you can adjust status. However, if they have a long time to go, then it may just be worth it to pursue another process where you apply for a waiver. But these are complex considerations, and this is where you should get legal advice as well as representation so you understand your process and you go through it smoothly and efficiently. All right, so let's see. Great questions so far. I was refused a visa. I have $300,000 in my bank account, retired, and said I don't have ties. So sometimes it's more than just money in your bank account. It's going to be, they want to see that you will go back to your home country after you visit the U.S. temporarily, and having money in your bank account doesn't necessarily speak to that because it could mean that you could take the $300,000 and run to the U.S. So it's not necessarily enough. They like to see more commitments in your home country, ties like property, business, all your family ties, for example. So travel document saved my life 5 years ago. Most people don't know about it. So that's definitely an interesting one. I would want to know more about that. Applied for EAD February 8th and I-131. How long does it take at Vermont? So it could take anywhere from 6 months to 11 months. Will I be able to get travel documents? So it's going to depend on the process. So your process is more complex, and you should get legal advice and representation because it's not as simple as you may think it is. Yes, you have children together, but the main issue here is that you're out of status and your spouse is a permanent resident. You're welcome on YouTube. So question, what if you don't have a social security number and joint documents? Is that an issue? It may be, it depends on your other evidence. What evidence do you have that you're a married couple? So it may be an issue. That's where it's very important to get legal advice and representation so that you understand what needs to be submitted. And the way I help my clients is really, I don't give advice as if it's a one size fits all, because each marriage is different. And so when I work with my clients, I first have to get to know my clients, especially if they're a married couple, to understand what does their marriage look like, how are they living, what are the circumstances, and then we decide what's the best evidence to submit with their petitions. All right. So been waiting for interview since 2016. I don't know what case you have pending, but your wait time is going to depend on that. How long does it take to get the work permit after getting married with a U.S. citizen? So when you get married to a U.S. citizen, you first have to file the right documents. When you file the right documents and if they feel you qualify, then you'll be issued. But getting a work permit is not going to be issued automatically just from marrying. Applied for U visa in 2019, got married in September 2021. Do I wait for U visa or husband petition for me? So I wouldn't be able to advise you specifically on what actions you're going to take because I'm not your attorney. It is possible for both processes to be going at the same time. However, whether it's advisable for you is going to depend on your particular circumstances. Michelle Flores, that's where it's important to get legal advice and representation so that you are not making any mistakes and that you fully understand the implications of applying especially when you're applying for different processes at the same time. So when a principal applicant dies, so the derivatives can still be approved, I-751. So can the non-pro-tunc work? So it's going to depend. I don't, when a principal applicant dies, so the derivatives can still be approved, that's complex. No, it may not necessarily require all of that for the derivatives to be approved, but in order to, that's very complex and we'd have to understand what's going on to determine whether that can be approved. Oh, and that's where it's important to get the consultation. Now, here's how you can do that. Go to the link in the profile. It's going to take you to the website. When you get to the website, you'll see different options. Go ahead, go to the website. You can schedule your own appointment and confirm it. And once you have, then we will be ready to do a consultation with you to help you to go through your options and then get started right away. Already got my 2-year green card. I'm now on a 2-year extension. My spouse threatened to not come to the interview. So Samantha, that's where you can apply for a waiver if you are definitely taking that threat seriously. You can give me a call. I work with my clients on cases like this. So give me a call. Let's talk and then go ahead and get started as soon as possible. Because if that's the case, one thing you have to be careful about is the spouse sabotaging you right at the interview or right before the interview, because that can be a disastrous when you're attending the interview and your spouse then decides last minute they're not going to go. After you receive the approval letter for the I-130, what's next? You're going to have to wait for an immigrant visa number to become available. If one is already available to you, then it's going to be processed at the National Visa Center. Thanks for the love. I appreciate it. Keep putting those questions in the comments. I'm both on YouTube and on TikTok. So put your questions in the comments. I am going to finish up my topic that I came to talk about, and that's the U visa, U status. But by all means, keep putting your questions in the comments. As I am here, you can keep doing that. Now, the U visa or status allows you to apply for immigration relief if you've been the victim of certain qualifying crimes. Examples of these crimes would be domestic violence, assault, stalking, robbery, burglary. If you have been the victim of crimes like this, then and it was reported to law enforcement, then you could qualify. But here are the requirements. The requirements are certification. So it's a certification by law enforcement. And if your crime was reported to the police, then that certification will be something that is definitely possible. I work with law enforcement wherever that happened to get the U visa, U status certification. Once we get that, we also show further evidence that you are the victim of the qualifying crime and that it served as a qualifying crime. And then we also submit a work permit application because they just changed the policies. Now, there are some people that they comment, I think I've seen comments before on my YouTube that said, not true, you can't get a work permit. It takes years to get the work permit. They have changed that policy. So last year, the Biden administration changed that policy to say that if you are going to apply for the U visa, once they've determined that you've properly filed your application with all the requirements, that's with the U cert, that's by law enforcement, the application, the evidence, you can qualify for what's called a bona fide filing determination within months. And then you could get the work permit. So what we do is we apply for the work permit at the same time that we apply for the U. And to get the U status is taking years. However, the work permit is issued within months to alleviate that long wait time. So you are able to continue to work while you wait for your U status to be decided. So that's the main benefit here, is that it used to take a long time and you used to have to sit down for years without any relief. But now the Biden administration is allowing people to get their work permits while the application is processing and not necessarily wait for years to even get on the deferred wait list, deferred action wait list. So if you have been the victim of any crime, your first thing you should be doing is scheduling a consultation so I can determine whether you qualify for this. I work on behalf of my clients. I don't send my clients to go get their U cert from law enforcement directly. I work with the law enforcement to get the U certification. So that's one less thing my clients have to worry about. They don't have to work with law enforcement directly. And then once we get it, we file it. So let's see more questions. Some docs needed to get resent via SEAC. What would you recommend? NVC call line suspended. So I'm not your attorney and I haven't filed. That's one thing I want you to understand here is that the information I'm giving you is general information and it is not personalized legal advice. And that's where it really comes down to what documents, what happened, why did they reject it, why do they need it resent? And one thing I want to tell you here is I'm very, very, very careful at the National Visa Center stage because they will reject a document for very little reason. It could have just a spot on it and they're going to reject it. And it takes 3 months. So every time you get a document rejected, it could take up to 3 months for them to say they've now accepted or they still reject it. I've seen people's cases be delayed for years because people go into the National Visa Center thinking this is going to be so easy. All I have to do is supply documents, and it turns out to be a nightmare. So in your case, it's really going to depend on what type of documents and the reason for the rejection. Do you help with the I-130? I help with all sorts of immigration applications, employment-based, humanitarian, that's asylum, the U and the T, VAWA, family-based, and what I-130 is a part of the family base. So of course I use the I-130 as part of my representation. What I don't do in my consultations, I don't review people's documents, and I don't review people's documents to say, okay, it's good, go ahead and file on your own. I don't believe in that. My representation is very holistic. I represent my clients from beginning to end, and I don't leave my clients to do anything on their own. So my wife is a U.S. citizen and wants to petition for my 2 kids. How long does it take for their approval? So I would say right now 18 to 24 months if they're in another country. Are you in Jamaica? No, I am not. I'm a U.S. immigration attorney, and so I'm located in Boca Raton, Florida. However, I represent my clients in all 50 states and around the world. So I'm not there, but the accent that you're hearing is Jamaican. What's the cost to help with the I-130? So it's going to depend on what case, because the I-130 applies to different types of family-based cases. It's marriage, it's parents, it's siblings. And so on top of that is the I-130 plus, are you filing the I-130 with other documents? Are other documents required? This is why the consultation is very important. How long will it take for to get bona fide certificate after the file the U visa this year? So I'm seeing as little as 4 months, but I'm also seeing as long as 8 months. Any H-2B jobs for newbies, so I don't do job placements for the H-2Bs. What about the TN visa, the timeline from Canada? So if you're in Canada with the TN, usually it's a matter of going to the border to apply for it. The I-130 form I have to do is my father filing for me and my brother. So love, Nicole, go ahead, get in touch, schedule that consult, and we'll talk more about that. He's a green card holder and his wife is a U.S. citizen. So we need to sift through some facts here. So if you're really serious about moving forward and succeeding in your process, that's where you should call, schedule a consultation, and then we can get started. So I'm getting VAWA approved. So what next? How many months do you think I have to wait to get the green card? So after the VAWA is approved, then you have to wait for the adjustment of status process. And that process it depends on the service center, but now it turns into adjustment of status if you have already filed your adjustment of status. If you filed your adjustment of status, then you could wait for another 6 months to up to a year to get the interview. If you have not, then you have to file the adjustment of status application and then wait for the processing. All right, so great questions so far. Thanks so much for your questions, and keep putting those questions in the comments. Now with the U status, it is taking 10 years, but the main thing I want you to understand here is that even though it is taking 10 years to get, you will be able to get a work permit after it's properly filed. That's where it's important to get legal representation to ensure it's properly filed. But after it's properly filed, then it will go on to, you could get a work permit within months and continue to get your work permit until you get a decision. Once you get a decision on your case and it's an approval, it means you get to work live and work here for 4 years. And then you could apply for adjustment of status within 3 years, after 3 years of being here on a continuous basis. Your family members can also apply for this, and your family members could be your spouse, your parents if you're 21, if you're under 21, your siblings if you're under 21, siblings who are under 18 and unmarried can also apply, and then your children as well. Children under 21 and unmarried. So the U status is for victims of certain qualifying crimes. If you've been the victim of domestic violence, assault, robbery, any crime of that nature. If you've been a victim of a crime like that resulted in your physical or mental abuse, then you could qualify for this form of immigration relief if the law enforcement got involved. So if you call the police, then that means that this could possibly be for you. If you call the police came, they took your report, then that means that you could possibly qualify for the U status. The U status right now is allowing you to get the work permit during its long wait time, but the work permit can give you much needed relief while you're here. All right, so that's going to be it for me today. Thanks so much for all these relevant, great questions. I'm going to be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock, so 4 p.m. Eastern time, to take more of your questions and also to bring another topic to you. So to help you, to help you understand options and help you to get more information about maybe a process you're already going through or you're thinking about. So let's see. Hey, I've been filing for my kids since 2020, haven't heard nothing else. So it depends on what kind of case, what are the ages of your kids, what's going on, what is their current status, where are they. So Fabulous Moy, schedule a consultation and then we can talk about it. Go to the link in the profile and it will allow you to get the assistance you need through your process. Thanks again, everyone. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. I'm here 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Bye-bye.